So we help coaches scale to 100K per month with only one employee. The current times of AI will help us change our slogan to with zero employees in the future. We are inside of a big trust recession. People don't trust each other anymore, and you can see that across all industries and countries and governments. Yeah, so we had a big campaign. We spent almost 180K. Do more. It's always do more, because if you do more, you get better. And if you get better, you can scale easier.
If you are a coach, a consultant, digital creator, a digital entrepreneur who knows there's more on the table, who wants to pick up what there's more on the table, and you're tired of vague advice, of stories which don't make sense, of support and courses which simply do not work for you, this one here, this podcast is for you. I'm Torsten, and this is the Cope Insider Podcast. So let's get into it, Max. Max, first of all, thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Pleasure meeting you. We heard a lot about each other, but we never spoke in person.
That's correct.
So I'm actually very, very excited. The funny thing is, last week at Sessions, everybody was asking me and saying like, oh, how do I do this? And give me a word of advice. Just told them, like, once this podcast is out, you got to download it, and then you have all the answers.
Yeah.
So tell me this:
sounds good.
Before speed scaling, right?
Yeah.
Before all the craziness, before all the millions, and before everything else, what were both of you actually doing?
Yeah. So I was an agency owner. I did DMs on LinkedIn. So that's where I earned my first million on LinkedIn Organic. I posted regularly, wrote a lot of DMs, and closed a lot of clients through LinkedIn Organic. And Eric had a different business partner. He was early into webinars. So he actually did his first million with paid ads. He sold a meta ads course. So how to profitably run meta ads. This was his first real offer that took off. And we met in, I think, 2023 on a birthday party of a friend of ours. That's where our journey started.
So totally random. You had nothing to do with each other.
No.
And we met. Okay, well, we call that fate. Max, for somebody who has not heard about speed scaling yet, right? Can you, in one sentence, explain what you guys actually do?
Yeah, sure. So we help coaches scale to 100K per month with only one employee. And I think the current times of AI, will help us change our slogan to with zero employees in the future. But for now, I guess you should have one person that backs you up with a couple of tasks you can outsource easily. But 100K per month is our domain where we want to help coaches make more money, scale their businesses. That's what we do.
And we're going to talk about AI because I really want to pick your brain on this in a little bit. We heard so much about AI last week. And I also got to tell you something what Raul, our founder of Code, actually said to me the other day, which I found very interesting. But let me quickly go back and go a little bit deeper. So out of the 2,000 coaches you worked with, what kind of person, what kind of coach gets the best results with you? Is there a common denominator you could point out?
I think with our strategies, it works best in B2C. So if you have a make money offer, a fitness coaching, if there's any type of B2C, it works very well. If you have a clear defined B2B offer, it can work, but it's so much harder to, for example, target CEOs of big companies and try to convert them into a webinar that's taking, for example, 2 to 3 hours. It's easier to convert clients through a webinar process that have more time. So usually that's B2C. And I think the clients that scale the best are those who have no ego, because one thing I see a lot of entrepreneurs do, they want to be right, but it's not about being right. It's about doing the thing that works. And I think killing your ego helps so much while scaling, because Meta, if you go to Meta or Google or YouTube and you want to run ads, it's not about being right. It's about doing the right thing.
Correct. Exactly. And understanding what the right thing is, right? And finding And
Yeah.
finding that right thing for
I
you.
think finding is the perfect verb because it's you never know. You have to test so much.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
one campaign called Mission 5, we tested over 7,300 ads in one campaign that took, I think, 8 months.
Wow.
So it's a lot about volume, and I think most people underestimate what like volume really means.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about ads also later on. I like that where
Hmm.
we're going with this because I think some people are still in the belief, oh, I can do it myself. And then other
Hmm.
people, they do like 2 ads and they wonder why there's no
Yeah.
development coming
Yeah.
out of it, right? So let's
Sure.
look, but before we go into all of this. So when I was
Hmm.
briefed an hour
Hmm.
ago from Michelle about this podcast, she
Yeah.
told me some crazy story. So if you don't mind, take me back
Yeah.
to November 2023, your very first launch together. I
Hmm.
believe, or at least what I was told, is you were sick as a dog, as they say in
Yeah.
English, and you could barely speak. So run me
Yeah.
through what happened.
I had no voice. I had COVID. So I had the fevers and I was very sick.
Okay.
And this was our first ever webinar we did together. This campaign was called Mission 5. So we Mission 5 was basically how to get to 5 figures. So
Okay.
really simple through LinkedIn, DMs, and organic. That's what I did. The crazy thing is that this was the first time I realized it's not about me because the system works, because I was not obviously not performing my best, and it worked nonetheless. So at this time, I really something clicked inside of my head because I was used to doing a lot of volume through DMs and sales calls and posting daily, maybe even twice a day. So I was like trained on volume and doing so much stuff, and it felt hard. And I told myself making money is hard, so I have to work harder and more to make more money. And this was the first time I actually felt what a system can do for you, even if you don't perform your best. And that's why I love webinars, because if they're built right, you cannot not perform because the webinar does the job for you, basically.
Yeah. I think this also shows where the difference is, right? Because a lot of people I know, they
Hmm.
probably would have canceled or would have postponed. And
Yeah,
this opportunity you have right there would have
yeah,
been a lost opportunity. So did
yeah.
Eric ever tell you how it felt for him? Because he was kind of like pushed into it because he had to, right? So
Yeah,
how
because
did it feel on his end?
he took over in the pitch, and he took over because he had to, but it was never planned. It was
Ah,
my webinar. He was just doing some background work and controlling the chat, and because he wrote the webinar, he could take over in the pitch. It wasn't a problem for him to take over, but I think it was so much was on the line because he and his business partner split up. So this was one of his first new projects, and I put my last 5K into ads, and I had nothing because I spent all my money on him and ads. So it had to work, and I'm glad it did work. For him, he was relaxed because he was a webinar pro back in 2023. So it was my first webinar and our first together. I don't know. He's a pro in webinars, and he launched his first webinar, I guess, in 2022 or no 2020, I guess. So he had a lot of webinar experience.
interesting. Okay. Okay.
Hmm.
So I like what you just said there because so I'm also a 1, 2, 3 times entrepreneur where I raised capital, started my own company and everything. And I think it's fair to say a lot of coaches, a lot of entrepreneurs
Hmm.
are the business. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's them. I mean, if this is by choice or if this is by accident, but if they get sick, everything
Hmm.
stops, everything
Yeah.
halts. So you
Yeah.
gotta understand, what do I do right now? How do I
Hmm.
continue? Don't I continue? And I think what you just told us shows exactly where that difference is coming in. And
Yeah.
sometimes I really like what you just said there. You had invested the last amount you had left. I remember, so like I started my first company in 2008. I raised 1.2 million, but in 2014, I was like days out from bankruptcy. And I think the very, very first time I really went into that mode, I
Hmm.
don't give up. I've
Yeah.
lost everything. This is now survival.
Mm-hmm.
This is when your head registers, right? This is when it goes
Yeah.
different and you're thinking like, okay, you most certainly gotta change something here.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about a webinar in general. You just made the comment that Eric has done that for quite some time, and a lot of people feel very uncomfortable in
Mm-hmm.
webinars, right? So
Mm-hmm.
let's talk a little bit about a playbook, if there even is.
Mm-hmm.
In your world, the
Yeah.
webinars are basically the engine behind anything and everything what you guys do, right?
Yeah.
So
Correct.
for somebody who has never done a webinar, or for somebody who has never really converted anything in a
Mm-hmm.
webinar, right?
Mm-hmm.
So where does it happen that it's different between just a webinar and selling something what
Yeah.
educates people?
Yeah. Yeah, sure. I think that's a great question. Thank you very much. Most people confuse webinars for either a sales pitch or like a YouTube video where I just give away free stuff. It's both. And I think every part, there are 15 in total, that every webinar has to contain. And it starts with an intro. You have to have commitment, you have to have authority, social proof, and some form of why should I listen to you? Why should I act right now? And what happens when I act? So,
Mhm.
what could be a potential better future if I listen to the stuff you're going to tell me right now?
Right.
And then there's the content where you can talk about your strategies. And the content actually is the longest part, but it's the least important.
Yeah.
And then there's a transition where you wrap up the stuff and you present two choices. For example, do the stuff on your own. I just told you how the strategy works. Or you can just give me a couple of more minutes and I'm going to show you how you can do the stuff with me alongside. And then there's the pitch where you present the offer, the price, the call to action, some bonuses, scarcity. And I think what makes a good webinar is that you are actually in the mood of selling because it is about selling and you have to feel good about selling. And the most people that fail with webinars, you can hear it in their tone of voice. They are confident in the content, and then when we get to the pitch, they go quiet and slow and shy, and you can hear this drop in commitment, this drop in confidence because they don't feel good about selling. And if you structure a webinar how it should be, it gets you in the mood of being confident selling because you listen to your own story, to your own sales pitch while you read the stuff on the slides. And that's why I love webinars, because you can put every word you're going to say on the slides. You basically cannot fail if you just read what's there.
I really like this because you're at a
Mm-hmm.
point right now where I always hear all those questions. So first of all, I couldn't agree
Mm-hmm.
more with you. I really do believe you need to be passionate about what you're selling, right? Because
Yeah,
the person on the receiving end, they
sure.
realize if you're not passionate about anything, and why should they buy it if you're not
Mm-hmm.
passionate yourself? But
Sure.
like when you're going, you just mentioned this one pivotal point there. You mentioned when you're going from teaching to
Mm-hmm.
pitching.
Mm-hmm.
This is where you said their voice goes down, right? I
Yeah,
would say where a lot of people feel uncomfortable.
sure.
But you just mentioned, write down a couple of notes or whatever. But what can you do to boost that confidence, to build that
Mm-hmm.
confidence? Because
Yeah,
there's a lot of people in this world who are
yeah.
passionate about what they do, but when
Mm-hmm.
it then comes to selling it,
Yeah,
they kind of like go back into their house,
yeah,
right? So what do I
yeah.
need to do in this very moment?
Yeah. So I talked about the transition and I
Yeah.
talked about the recap and I talked about the two choices. But there's one crucial part that gets you into the selling mood.
Okay.
And it's called momentum, building momentum. And
Okay.
there's a word that for this, and it's called trial closing. So there's a specific thing you can do all the time in a webinar. Are questions like, do you see how easy that is? Does it make sense? You see, right? All these questions you You nod, you say yes to yourself, maybe you say yes out loud. And in this transition from content to pitching, you wrap up the stuff, you wrap up the content, and then you ask yes questions. Do you see how the strategy I just told you or I just showed you helps you, I don't know,
Yeah.
make more money,
Yeah.
get more customers,
Yeah.
build more confidence, grow your personal brand? And do you see how easy it is to implement this stuff? Can you see yourself in, I don't know, 3 months implementing the strategy, earning more money, having a better life? Do you see how everything's good now? And you
Got it.
ask all those yes questions, and they basically help you and the audience to say yes a couple of times.
Yeah.
So then when you present the pitch, it's not the first yes, it's maybe the 100th, right?
Yeah.
So these yes questions, it's called trial closing, and this is like a monster strategy. If you implement yes questions into your language, your speech, helps boost sales so much because people say yes all the time to you.
Yeah.
And it's so and now everything is feeling so natural, because when you present the two options, you ask again, do you want to hear what I've got for you? And everybody says yes. And now you ask them, or they ask you to pitch, please tell me more. So these yes questions help a lot to get you and the customer or the potential customer in a buying or selling mood. Yeah, because it builds momentum. Yeah.
I like that. So you're guiding somebody to their own success, right? You're like you're helping them, guiding them without them realizing that they're going into the closing pitch, right? And into the closing end. I like that. So I have to ask, I have to hear this story. So Michelle told me, I believe she mentioned July 2024, something absolutely crazy happened. You had a webinar, you had a ton of people registered, I believe. And then all of a sudden during the webinar, during the live session, you had so many calls come in and people had to jump in and help. Like, run me through this whole thing. What happened?
So I told you about the Mission 5 campaign from November 2023 to June 2024. And KPR started to plummet, and we had to change stuff. And we basically build a new wrapper about the offer, and we call it not Mission 5, but School OS, because we were selling how to make 5 figures, but not just as a, I don't know, service-based business, but with school communities. And the platform from Alex Hormozy and Sam Owens. And we had such great CPLs, so cost per leads, and we had around about 4K registrants. And then we had a great show up rate, so we had, I don't know, 1,500 people live. And then we got into the pitch and had the call to action. We opened up our calendars, and we were, I don't know, fully booked in no time, maybe 3 to 5 minutes. All slots were gone.
Wow.
And Eric was presenting the bonuses, and I was like, what do I do? Because we don't have anybody who can take on more calls. So we then opened up a couple of more days, and then again, 3 minutes later, fully booked. And then I was like, fuck, so many people are trying to book a call with us. So I had to call a sales agency. And while Eric was presenting the bonuses, we onboarded 3 new salespeople within, I don't know, 10 minutes. I had 3 more calendars, and we were fully booked again within, I don't know, 5 minutes. And then I called my wife, and then I called my team. So everybody who could talk had to take sales calls. So at the end of the pitch, we booked 630 calls, I guess. So a lot of sales calls. This was one of our best campaigns ever. We did, I think, 830K in 4 days.
From this one webinar.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it went so well that on the Monday after, so after all the sales calls, all the money coming in, we were like, this was so crazy. We scaled so fast. Let's build speed scaling. So on the Monday after, we were like, we have to build a mastermind. We have to have some way of teaching the system how
Yeah.
to teach webinars, because the product itself was about how to write LinkedIn DMs and get to 5 figures. So cool stuff, but not about
Nothing
scaling.
special.
Yeah. And nothing fast, nothing big. And on the Monday after, we founded SpeedScaling as a company, as a project, and the rest is history.
I love that. And also, and thank you for saying that, Max, when you were saying like, it wasn't really anything special, right? Because I think this is the biggest misconception a lot of people have, where they think like, oh, my offer needs to be amazing, my services need to be amazing or whatever. No, you just need to find the right niche of people who are interested in that. And then you throw out the hook. But let me ask you this, because funnily enough, last week I spoke with somebody, a young coach from San Francisco, and he basically does public speaking and open speaking, being comfortable, self-confidence coaching, and all of this type of stuff. And he asked me, and he said like, so what do I do with the ads, and what hook do I need in order for people to sign up for my webinars? So considering you said like, I believe 4,000, you just said 4,000 people to sign up. What did you do different, or was there something you did differently with the ads and the hook? Was there something?
I think simplicity won back then. Right now it's a bit different. Right now it's all about diversity. You have to have so many unique stuff that it's a volume game again. Back then, 2-3 years ago, it was about split testing a lot of tiny details and about simplicity. So our best ad from that campaign was Germany's biggest school event. That's it. It was just a plain white Canva. We built the ad in Canva. We had a white background and black font that says Germany's biggest school event. That's it. So we had, I don't know, a CPL of 3 to 4 euros. This was our best ad ever. And it was so ugly, so simple. Stuff so simple like that does only work with trends. So school was a trend. So school itself, the platform, pumped a lot of budget into ads. So everybody was talking about school. And we were basically the first who made a big event out of it. So we had, an unfair advantage because we were at the right time at the right place. But right now it's more about diversity, testing a lot of different stuff.
Well, also because the time has passed, right? I mean, there's a lot of new initiatives that are now AI. Let's talk about AI in a second. That all came up and everything. But here's another question for you, because for people who do multiple webinars, how often do you have to change the approach? Do you always have to reinvent, or are you utilizing it for a couple of months until you feel there's no demand anymore? What is the indicator? What do I need to do there?
So I think the big indicator is the ROAS, so return on ad spend. If you are lucky, you can run a webinar for 1 to 2 years. We have a couple of clients that are lucky enough to don't have to change anything. But if you run a lot of ads to one specific campaign, we see a drop off in ROAS after 3 to 6 months. So we optimize for at least a ROAS of 3. So if you triple your money every month, that's a great campaign, right? So at first, if you launch a webinar, it's more often between 6 to 7, maybe 12 to 13 if you hit a trend. But after a couple of months, you tend to have a ROAS and getting more, dropping, because people hear the same stuff all along. And if they don't sign up the first time, maybe they sign up the second time, maybe the third time. But if they didn't sign up the third time, they won't sign up the 6th or 7th time. So that's when ROAS drops. And if you drop below 3, that's an indicator for us that we have to change the wrapper. And changing the wrapper means different name. For example, if you have a webinar that's called How to Make Money Online, maybe 6 months later, you make a Make Money Online challenge. I don't know, simple stuff, simple changes that boost the ROAS again, because it feels new, maybe change, I don't know, colors. But yeah, that's the ROAS is a good indicator if you have to change stuff or if you can just keep running the webinar.
I like that. I like that. Thank you for that. So let's think about the following. I'm a new coach. I have nothing. I have an idea.
Yeah.
But I don't have an audience. And I take you now, what you said early on. So I have $5,000. That's all I have.
Yeah.
No audience. I think I have a great product.
Yeah.
And I only have $5,000. Does this all go to ad spend, or what do I do now? I have the $5,000. That's all I have. What do I do?
If you're just starting out and you have 5K, don't run ads. Because I think you should only run ads if you have a proof of concept. If you know the stuff actually works and converts and people want to buy your stuff. Because spending money on ads is a great way to test stuff. But if you are just starting out, it's not wise to spend all your ad money to testing. We test with ads, but because we have a lot of money right now to test with. But if you're just starting out, I wouldn't recommend running ads just to test stuff. A basic DM campaign, talk to a lot of people in my niche, maybe hit them up on Instagram or LinkedIn, do a lot of organic, post some reels on Instagram about my topic and see if it gets a bit of traction, if it gets views or comments. So I would always start organic if I'm actually starting out. If you are a successful coach and you want to try a new offer, sure, let's do a webinar. Let's use some of your money to save time so you can spend money testing and you don't have to spend your time testing. But if you're starting out, I wouldn't recommend running ads.
So I think this one sentence, which really stuck with me right there, what you just said, is organic conversion happens because people trust you, right?
Yes.
You got to get there. You got to get to that level, and then you can take it from there, which reminds me, it's an interesting conversation. So we had at an event, it's called Creator Hub. We had Robbie Blanchard, which is probably the #1 affiliate marketeer globally on our stage. And there was a question in the audience where the lady said, I have a good email database, but I don't hear back when I'm sending out emails. And you could see that 98% of this audience would have said to her, if people don't respond to your emails, stop it right away. So Robbie did it completely different. Robbie said, you got to build people to listen to you and people to trust you. And the only way you can do it is not be a one-hit wonder, one day, one email. No, you got to be consistently in their face and remind them.
100%.
And, hey, do you know this? Do you know that? And he even went that far. Robbie said, like, send them an email daily, which sounds kind of like crazy. But then again, right, you're building that rapport, you're building that conversation, that language level with this audience. All right, okay, are you ready? I would love to talk about AI.
Yeah, I'm ready.
let's do it. So here's the thing. This happened in January this year at our mastermind in Dubai. So I had brought Raul up, and as we all know, our founder Raul is all about AI, and I found it very, very interesting. He said something what really stuck with me. So a little step back. I'm older. Okay. So I was there when they introduced the fax machine. I was there when they introduced the laptops. I was there when they introduced the cell phones and all of this type of stuff.
Yeah.
And it reminds me, every time something significant is introduced, people all freak out. Right? Because they think like, oh my God, I'm losing my job. I'm losing this. I'm losing that. So at the mastermind in Dubai, Raul actually said, AI is going to stay here. It's not going to go away. I challenge you, talking to the audience, I challenge you to utilize AI to make you the best you there is. So you got to figure out how AI can help you to be better.
Yeah,
right?
correct.
So don't see it as a threat, but see it as something what helps you, what boosts you, maybe even boosts your confidence, but what also gets you to a level of doing something different. So you said early on something what stuck with me, because you said the future isn't about better marketeers.
Mm-hmm.
but the future is about being better operators. Did I get
Mm-hmm.
that right? So
Yeah.
explain that a little bit to me, what you mean with this.
Yeah. So I think AI can do a lot of stuff for you. And regarding the volume game, because I think if you're talking about paid ads or content or anything in marketing, it's about volume. You have to
Mm-hmm.
test so much stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no better companion than AI to test stuff for you or to give you stuff to test. For example, right now I'm posting 15 reels a day because AI
15.
writes the
Wow.
15. Yeah,
Okay.
it's not a big deal because Claude writes the hooks and captions for me. And I just have to post. Back then, I had to write 15 hooks and 15 captions, and this took me a whole day. So now AI is my best companion for leveraging my own testing volume. And I think being this kind of operator separates me from maybe other marketers because I will outperform everybody who is not competing with my volume because through
Okay.
volume I'm getting better. So I will compete and I will win against every good marketer, every better marketer than me because I'm consistently putting out more volume because I leverage AI. And that's why AI is your best friend. Anything you want to do, you can do more stuff or faster with AI.
I like that. So I want
Mm-hmm.
funny because as a follow-up question, I actually wanted
Mm-hmm.
to ask you, tell me where AI has taken over, but you just answered that to me
Yeah,
because this is where AI comes in. And you're absolutely right. If I think this is so interesting what you just said, because if I think back in the time when we created your own ad ideas and everything, and it's sometimes, man, it took us days. You said you've done it in a
sure,
day, but it was
100%.
actually days or weeks, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't that fast. And now you're speeding, you're literally
Mm-hmm.
speeding and
Yeah.
can do that way better. Is there an area for you where you feel that AI is still falling short or still
Yeah.
needs to become better? Tell me where.
100%.
Okay.
So AI is not good in creating new things.
Okay.
So if I'm about to launch a new campaign and I want it to be unique, it's impossible for AI to be unique because it feeds off stuff there is. When
Okay.
AI is fueled by stuff there is, it's not able to create new things because it only can recreate what there is. AI is exceptionally good if you give it a thing, an idea, and to leverage that idea through volume. For example, if I have an
Yep.
idea, for example, I don't know, school OS or speed scaling or
Mhm.
mission 5, any big idea there is for a campaign, I can now print hundreds of hooks and
Mm.
captions
Mm.
um, in seconds, but
Yep.
I cannot create good ideas with AI. I can challenge my ideas, but I think I cannot create good campaigns from scratch because AI is not good in creating new things.
I like that. So
Mm.
basically, you're saying between the lines that the creativity, the human
Yeah, yeah,
creativity,
yeah,
still needs to be there, right? But then
yeah,
AI
100%.
gives you the support mechanism and the
Yeah,
boost mechanism you
yeah.
normally wouldn't be able to get, right?
And that's
Okay.
why I'm saying you have to be a good operator
Yes.
because you have to put in good idea into AI and that's it. I think the only thing humans have to be good at regarding marketing is having good ideas and being able to operate them or leverage them with AI. So being creative is more important than ever.
Than ever
Yeah,
before. But
100%.
also AI helps you to spend more time on being creative, right? Because
Yeah.
all the other admin work, I call it now admin work,
Mm-hmm.
all the heavy lifting now, it's kind of
Yes.
like taken off your plate and you can
Mm-hmm.
really focus on creating new stuff or digging deeper into your audience and understanding what the audience is really looking for.
Yeah.
So talking about audience,
Mm-hmm.
here in the US, and I think it also goes for Europe, the coaching industry and the coaching market
Mm-hmm.
is not only more crowded than ever before, but
Mm-hmm.
it also has more negativity to it. A lot
Mm-hmm.
of people being extremely skeptical to it,
Mm-hmm.
because quite frankly, there are a lot of bad actors, right? I mean, just
Mm-hmm.
just look at Instagram because some of those super coaches are making a post and saying like, "Oh, buy my $25,000 course, and you're going
Mm-hmm.
to become a millionaire in 6 weeks." I mean,
Mm-hmm.
listen, if everybody could become a millionaire in 6 weeks, everybody would buy those courses, right? I mean,
Yes. Correct.
Let's not talk about this. Who will survive in this coaching and digital entrepreneur market, and who will not survive?
Yes.
Give me your thoughts on that.
Coaches who actually are able to make their clients successful. And that's not about knowledge, because I cannot sell knowledge anymore. The original coaching space was all about it was called info business. It was about selling information.
Yeah.
But it's not anymore about selling information. It's about giving information away for free and selling implementation and creating amazing customer success. I think that's the only way to survive in this kind of red ocean, because we know people need help, but people don't need more information. They need more success. They need more results. They have to have more wins. And that's only through implementation and execution, and not about information.
To put this in other words, trust is the new currency in this market.
Trust is so important. Yeah. I think we're currently we are inside of a big trust recession. People don't trust each other anymore, and you can see that across all industries and countries and governments. And so, yeah, trust is so important.
I mean, honestly, and I hope they're going to clip this, what you just said, right? So you put it in a completely different perspective. You just said trust recession. So that's a new word. I would like to add this to the dictionary of 2026. But you're so absolutely right about it, right? Because there's a lot of distrust. And it's not only amongst people, it's like, as you just said, to the government, to institutions, and then people are overwhelmed by the arrival of AI. And does it make it easier? Doesn't it make it easier? It's an interesting world we are most certainly in. The coaches who will be still there in 2 years.
Yeah.
What do they all have in common? Is there a common denominator, or you think everybody is different?
Yeah, I want to double down on customer success. So every coach or consultant that is successful in 2028, for example, has a lot of testimonials, customer reviews, a lot of customer success, nice and big and juicy case studies. I think that must be a common denominator, because if you don't have successful clients, your trust will decline even more.
So let's go a little bit behind the scenes, as I call that, and look a little bit beyond the business. So we've talked about what some coaches ignore, the fulfillment component, everybody just focusing on selling, but they're not realizing, you got to deliver, you got to be legit, you got to have some
deliver.
Give me an example of a time when you went above and beyond for a client, for a customer, because I feel like now I'm getting to know you a little bit. It's more than just the selling component, right? It feels like you're building a community. You mentioned that word multiple times, and it's funny because on our side with Cope, everything we're doing right now is about the community. We're building a community, and when you look at so many companies who were dying a year ago and are now blasting, what have they done? They've built communities where people trust, rely on each other, help each other. Tell me a way or an experience or a situation, a moment in time when you went completely crazy and above and beyond for a client.
I think it's the small details, to be honest, because, for example, we have a WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
And I think the first thing people would do is not respond, I don't know, past 6 p.m., for example, or not answer by themselves and let team members answer. But we still fulfill our customers. So we still answer in our WhatsApp group, and we don't have any time constraints. So when I'm on the phone, I can answer questions.
Yeah.
I think that's not the healthiest way to scale a business, but I think it's a very honest way, because people that give us money want our help.
Yes.
And that's one way of delivering our help is to, for example, be available, answer questions, and have a lot of C-level time to so to say. So clients with us can book one-on-one calls and can join Q&A calls and can ask questions through a WhatsApp group, and it's always us. So we have a team, and it wouldn't be possible without a team, but we're still in the trenches, So we're not in the position to say, now we're scaling our business. Now we don't have any customer time or time with clients. I think that's a uncommon thing to do, because, as I just said, it's not a healthiest way to scale your business, and it doesn't make any sense, and it's a lot of work, and it slows down scale to a certain degree, because me and my team, we are all involved in fulfillment, but that's how we like to do business.
Yeah. And I think it's also a personality question, right? So when you said earlier on, you're doubling down on CSM, on customer success management, customer service management, it kind of like reminded me, because originally I'm coming from the hospitality world, right? So I started my life working in hotels, and what do? They serve, right?
Yeah.
And I don't have a problem with serving people, but you got to have that right in your head, and you got to do that as a passionate moment where I want to make sure you're happy. I want to make sure I help you, because then I also know they will rely on me. They will build the trust. They don't feel taken for granted, and they will come back. And this is not a 9 to 5 thing, because, the real problems happen in the evening or whatever. So last week, so whenever I'm out and about at industry events or shows or whatever, I ask people and say, like, hey, you're using everybody. We have competitors, and you're using other people. What's the one thing where you would say you're doing right, do more, and they are doing wrong? And there was a guy, he asked me last week, he said, like, so Torsten, do you know how fast your CSM team responds? And I said, like, I do not the precise number, but I know what the KPI is, and I know what the SOP is, and what we tell them, right? Because we say within 2 hours, acknowledge, so you build the case. So he said, your biggest competitor takes 7 days to respond to a support request.
Crazy.
Your team in average takes 22 minutes. And I was blown away with this comment, because I didn't even think about it. But here is me thinking, oh, functionality is important, price is important, No, for them it's important. I have a problem, and are you helping me? To overcome this problem? Fast. So to your point with regard to CSM, we have a lot of coaches eventually watching this webinar here, and there will be some of them who are probably stuck. So let's say, hypothetical, they are stuck at $10,000 a month, hypothetical, and they might have bought courses. Maybe they even hired an agency, right? None of this is working for them. To this specific person, what do you say to them?
Do more. Yeah. I mean, it's so unsexy, to be honest. But if you take a closer look, if you're able to make 10K just through putting in a couple of hours a week, just put more hours a week in, and you get more than 10K. And eventually you are seeing things like, what can I standardize? What's the common theme? What do my customers love or like about my product? And double down on that, so your leverage gets better. And then you eventually have enough money to, I don't know, hire an employee or run ads. And then you can start to scale with a proof of concept. Because at the 10K per month level, you don't have an exceptional product. Because if you would have an exceptional product, you wouldn't be stuck at 10K. So you have to do more to figure out what's a way to make my product better, so I can actually build more momentum.
Let's sink in. Not having that product. So that also means in that very moment in time, it's not about strategy.
No,
but it's about the effort. It's about the
Yeah,
effort being
effort,
put in.
discipline. Yeah, because 10K is sometimes so random. Sometimes you hit a win, sometimes you win a client, sometimes you don't. And you usually don't always sell the same stuff. So I think being at 10K is kind of almost like a dangerous position because you're only 1 month away from bankruptcy, so to say, and you don't have enough reps and standards to actually scale your business. So you have to get out of that comfort zone because 10K seems like a lot of money, but it's not enough to build a big, successful, profitable business, because you're like you don't have enough room to fail, right? So if you have a 100K per month business, you can survive a couple of bad months, so you can test more, you can be more aggressive, you can take more risk. But at 10K, you're not actually able to take any risk. So you have to be very cautious about that and really figure out where's a good place to do more, to double down, yeah, to do more reps to get out of that like 10K zone.
I like that a lot. I like that a lot. And it brings me to, let's jump a little bit around now, but it brings me to a topic I want to discuss with you anyway, payment infrastructure, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, because we all know a lot of coaches don't really think about the payment, collection of the payment, what happens
Mm.
next. And you specifically here, I think you mentioned earlier on, you're running launches, and in some of those launches, there might be hundreds of thousands of
Mm-hmm.
euros, US dollars moving a
Mm-hmm.
day. So
Mm-hmm.
how important or why does the platform you use to you?
Yeah. It's like the platform you use in, for example, like Cope is between you and the money. And you
Yeah,
have to have a reliable provider or service
partner.
provider.
Yeah.
So customers can give you money kind of effortlessly because they put in like the details and I don't know, credit card details, and that then it's done. And you don't have to worry about invoices or stuff. So the hassle is non-existent. And when you look at like those big webinar launches, even if they're not as big as a couple of 100K per day, but we like to have the call to action to book a call.
Yeah.
So we have roughly 30 minutes to close a deal. And when you're in the sales call, if we were on a sales call right now and you wanted to become our client, I would just like put the link in the chat and you had to pay right now.
Okay.
And this has to happen so fast because you cannot take time to collect the money,
Yeah.
because you don't have any time.
Yeah.
Because maybe in 5 minutes, the next call is starting. So everything has to be so fast and reliable
Yeah.
that if you don't use a service provider that does that for you, you would be in the position to write manual invoices. And I think that's not a smart idea because you don't have any time to do that, right?
Yeah, or
Um,
you should not
yeah,
have time to do that,
yeah,
right?
you
And
shouldn't
also
have.
think about
Yeah,
it like debt collection, so
yeah,
you send out those invoices people didn't pay, and now
yeah,
all of a sudden you realize, oh my God, I have outstanding
yeah,
account receivables of like
yeah,
$20,000 or whatever, and now you have to do debt collection. This takes you
sure.
off all
Yeah,
the other things you have to do
yeah.
and you should be doing. Okay.
Yeah. And I
Um,
think I think a smart way to put this is just focus on making money, not collecting money, because I think
yeah.
that's more leverage for us entrepreneurs to be focused on making money, not collecting money.
I hear very often that payout speed is so important to them. So I
Mhm.
figure now, understanding a little bit more about your business, considering that
Mhm.
you reinvest money at the same time because you do ad
Yes.
spend and you still
Mhm.
haven't disclosed how much ad spend you do. So I want to know this
Mhm.
number.
Yeah.
But would you agree that payout speed is very important, it's pivotal?
Yeah, of course, 100%. So if the payout would take more than 4 weeks, you cannot reinvest the money.
Mm,
Because like we suggest you do a monthly webinar.
mhm.
So you have, if you, for example, are, I don't know, finish the campaign at the end of April,
Yeah,
you would start on the 7th of May again.
yeah,
So you have 7 days of pause.
yeah,
and then you start the campaign all over. So you just have like 7 to 14 days where you need the money to reinvest the money in the next campaign. So that's why payout speed is so crucial if you don't want to be stuck at scaling because the money's not coming out of the campaign to reinvest into the next campaign. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally does. Because everything all of a sudden becomes so fast, and it's a chain reaction, right? It's not interval by interval anymore. It's basically check, back to back,
correct,
consecutively behind each other. I totally understand. So I know that Eric has been using us first successfully for quite some time. He was always a fan of CopeCart, and then eventually he recommended to you, I believe, and you started using it. So when you started using it, what was your experience? And be honest, please. So it's not an ad here. I just want to hear your feedback.
Yeah. So I think a common theme of our conversation is customer success. So I think it took, 3 days to have an account manager to take care of me and my account. And that was something I didn't experience before. And that's what I love actually about Cope or CopeCart, is that there are people that actually care about you and your business. I mean, our advantage was we had big launches, so we were kind of important for the company. But for us, for me, was a game changer because that was the first time when I used a service provider or a payment processor, that there was actually a person I could talk to that was able to fix my problems.
And then also, I think you are one of those guys where within a few weeks you went from 0 to $1 million, right? Because you got that
I think 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
Yeah.
So
I think 6 weeks.
Right? Because we were just talking about like how to start, how to scale from the first touch point to wherever the sky, the stars are the limit. So I think you're a proven example for the fact it can go relatively fast.
I mean, that's why we chose the name SPEEDSCALING for the company, because we were like fuck slow, why not go fast, right?
And this is why I love those moments here and those webinar and interviews and everything, because you hear about stories you can't make up, right? You have to live that story. You have to go through that whole experience in order to know. So I'd love to do a little bit of rapid fire. I do this every time I'm moderating on stage or I'm at an event or whatever. So I always do it with my counterparts. So let's shift energy right now. I would love to ask you, I don't know, I think I've written down probably around about like 10 questions. But I'm asking the question and I want an immediate answer from you. Super short answer. Because we're going to build them for clips, but also I want to show what really sits on the forehead of your mind.
I'm going to try.
What comes out. All right. So I know for a fact, because that's a question everybody asks me personally. All right. You probably heard it before. So let's see what is on your mind. The best business book you have ever read? Go.
$100 million offers from Alex Hormozi.
Okay, and you mentioned it very early on in our webinar also. So there you go. So this is where they come. Tell me the one tool you literally use every day.
WhatsApp. Is that a tool? For me, it's a tool. Yeah.
I agree with you. Isn't it kind of like a love-hate relationship with WhatsApp?
Yes. I mean, 100%. So but I think like WhatsApp or Slack, I think they're crucial for conversation with the team and customers. So Slack and WhatsApp.
And absolutely. So give me, I hope there is, because that also shows you came around. What is the worst advice anybody gave you?
Follow your passion. Yeah. Okay, passion doesn't pay bills, man.
Passion doesn't pay bills. Yeah, I hear you. I'm not saying anything to that now. And then, so when you were talking about earlier on, to pick up a call and help people, and sometimes it's after 6 p.m. or whatever, it made me think a little bit about my timing, right? And I'm crazy when it comes to working and everything. But tell me, like, how many hours do you actually work per day or per week? What do you think?
I think it's not about working, but spending time in or with the business. I think it's, I don't know, 12 to 14 hours a day, because my wife is also my business partner, and all of my business partners live at the same place here in Cologne. So it's actually mostly everything about business. So right now we have 10:30 here in Germany, and I'm sitting here with you recording a podcast. So yeah.
Tells it all. But what you probably don't know, Cologne has my heart, because my career started in Cologne at the Excelsior Hotel Ernst, opposite the cathedral, opposite the dome.
Nice.
And then my last hotel opening in Germany before I left for wherever I worked was Schloss Bensberg, which is Bergisch Gladbach.
Oh, nice.
Cologne,
yeah, we did
Cologne,
all
and
of our
Cologne,
events in Schloss Bensberg.
There you go. Here's a question for you, and I wanted to ask that earlier on already, but I know this is going to come up at a later stage. We talked about ads early on, okay? I would love to know, and I give you my amount, the most money you have burned on one single ad which didn't work out at all.
I cannot tell a specific amount for an ad, but for a campaign. Yeah, so we had a big campaign. We spent almost 180K, and it turned out a flop, to be honest. And we barely made back the money. So yeah, 180K. It wasn't, I think that's the biggest amount of money that we put into a campaign that didn't actually work or bring back any money.
Actually, you and I are not that bad, because we're both around the 200 mark. However, at the mastermind in Dubai, one of my panelists, I asked her the question, and she said they burned $750,000 on one campaign to realize it was all BS. So $750,000. Man,
crazy.
That sucks. Next question, short answer, revenue or profit? What matters more?
Profit, obviously. But I think it's, when you're starting out, it's easier to focus on revenue because you can build profit later. Because, for example, it's if you're building a business to 100K per month revenue, it's easier to make 50K profit than with a business that makes, I don't know, 20K revenue. It's impossible to make 50K profit with a business that makes 20K revenue.
Yeah.
So I think it's first revenue, profit second, but profit must become your priority number one when you hit a certain revenue level.
Short answer, one thing every coach wastes money on.
Good question. I think gear, microphones, cameras. I think you just need your phone, to be honest, and I don't know, $15 earpods. I think gear is not important. I like to buy gear, but it's not important.
Yeah, no, I agree. And also now, because I think people are sick and tired of seeing orchestrated stuff. Right?
100%. Yeah.
Beautiful production and all of this, because they've seen
it never
a million
worked.
times, but they want to see the painting behind, the bookshelf behind, right? They want to know we're regular people. I'm sitting in my daughter's bedroom at the desk. This is what people want to see.
Perfect.
Totally. Organic or paid? If you could pick only one, organic or paid?
Then I would pick organic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's say you would start again from scratch.
Yes.
You do that tomorrow. The first move, if you would start again tomorrow.
Do I have my knowledge? Do I have to say knowledge right now? Or do I have to really start at zero?
You have to start at zero.
Okay. Then I would go back to the stage of figuring out how can I serve people. So for example, I had some knowledge in marketing, some knowledge in sales, and I just talked to so many people that eventually somebody was like, hey man, can you help us with our, I don't know, email campaign? And I was like, yeah, sure. I can write some emails for you, or I can do some sales calls for you. Figuring out what are your skills and talking to so many people that it's impossible to not land a deal. That would be my first move, because I had to prioritize cash.
I like that. So my entrepreneurship and self-employment started in 2008. Yours round about, let's say now in this case here, 2023. One thing you would now tell your 2023 yourself.
Don't stop organic, because because I built everything organically.
Yeah.
And then I figured out it's so much easier to scale with paid ads because it's so much faster,
Yeah.
but it's not compounding.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think the ultimate beast is organic plus paid, because you can scale fast with paid ads. You can get a lot of people into your system, and organic compounds over time. I think that's the ultimate combination. Yeah, so don't stop organic.
Which brings me actually to kind of like the closing question, the last question basically. So once we've published this beautiful podcast here, we always know, or I always say, the one thing you really want is that every person walks away with this one point, right? I mean, it would be great to have like 10 points, but like most people only walk away with 1 point. So if someone would walk away from this conversation here, from this podcast between you and I, and remembers only one thing, what should it be in your opinion?
Do more, I guess.
I'm so happy you say that, because that was my favorite early on. When you said do more, I was smiling.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Because when you're starting out, you have to send more DMs. You have to, I don't know, publish more posts.
Yeah.
If you're scaling, you have to spend more money. You have to test more ads. If you have a lot of clients, you have to do more calls to figure out how you can serve them. If you want to improve your, I don't know, sales conversion, do more sales calls. It's always do more, because if you do more, you get better. And if you get better, you can scale easier.
So we're big into trademarks, right? I learned a lesson very hard and dear because I didn't register my trademark, and then somebody else stole it and made a very profitable business out of it. So you might want to trademark do more, domore.com or do more, whatever. I like that. So important here in this respect also, because we want to make sure you get some credit for everything. Where can people find Speed Scaling?
I think the easiest way is speedscaling.de, but the website is, to be honest, in German. So I think the easiest way to actually connect with us, if you're listening and you're just speaking English, which is fine, just hit me up on Instagram. It's maximilian.saal. Yeah, so you can just send a DM. We can have a quick chat. I think that's the easiest way to connect with us. But if you're capable of speaking German, go to our website and you can find all of the information online if you want to.
So that's the next thing. We're going to make sure, do more. We're going to make sure that we translate and get you an English-speaking website.
Yeah, that's correct.
All right. Okay. So everybody, thank you so much for tuning in today. This was Max from Speed Scaling. If you are a coach, you're building a coaching business, you're running digital products, you're selling anything and everything online, and you want a payment partner that actually picks up the phone when the phone is flowing and when things are going sideways. That is what Cope is built for. Links to everything and anything what we talked about are in the description. And if this episode gives you or gave you something useful, share it with one person who needs to hear about it, because that is how this community grows. And both Max and I think the community is more important than anything else. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow digital coaches and digital entrepreneur, I'm Torsten, and this has been the Cope Insider Podcast. Max, thank you so much for
Thanks for having me.
See you next time, everybody.
See you.